Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about what Bookside is doing specifically with regards to the cost of distributing books and how does a distributor survive in the world that we're functioning at the moment. I think what I'm going to do the same as what Melvin did. I'm just going to start sharing a screen. I think that's going to be, I think that will make the most sense. Let me just see if I can get this sorted. Okay, is that working?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so my brief was to talk about the cost of distributing books and how does a distributor survive. So I thought the best is just to sort of, and I know some of the elements we've already covered, but I was thinking maybe the best would be just to put this whole thing on a very simple way, looking at the book value chain. Obviously, it starts by publishing the content, where the publisher takes the responsibility. Then the book is to be printed, obviously by the printer. After that, you have to have that book to be warehoused. That's where we play a role. Then sales and marketing is done to the publisher. I'm referring to sales and marketing to a business, not to what Melvin was saying, obviously on their end. They do sales and marketing to the final customer. Then receiving orders, that would be the distributor. Picking and packing is the distributor. Delivering to the customer being the business, not the end user. And then invoicing and debt collection, that's all the role of the distributor. And then the retailing of the book, that's back to Melvin's business. And then, like in the most businesses, there's returns of sale or return to be dealt with at that point. So that's in short, in very simple terms. So I just want to tell you something about Bookside. Bookside Africa is 100% owned by TISO. We act as an agent for publishers, connecting the customer and the publisher with each other. We have a warehouse of about 22,000 square meters, where we stock about 5.7 million units or 40,000 ISBNs. We do about 7.5 million units of sales per annum. We receive about 330,000 orders per annum, and we deal with about 700 million turnover per annum from the publishers. We have 16 publishers, 2,000 customers. We have staff complement of about 100 permanent people, and then depending on the season, up to 35 casuals. And we use software, Bookmaster, 3 different versions, because we've got 3 different systems. So the activities that we do, I've touched on it briefly, but just to going into a little bit more detail. So let's move on to the next slide then. So the activities that we basically do is we receive the stock from the printers. We then receipt it into our system. We do perpetual stock counts. We manage slow-moving stock. We do picking and packing of orders. We do dispatching to customers, and we deal with returns, including remaindering of books. Let me do this. Okay, so I have to unshare and share with each screen. Okay, that's going to slow down a little bit, but anyway. Then we also we do customer relation services. I assume that you can see the slide.
Yes.
Where we do order receipting, order processing, customer services, dealing with complaints, resolving complaints. That's on both ends. Remember, we're connecting the publisher and the customer, dealing with that. Then what we also do, just there should be a way. I was hoping there's a quicker way to do this. Okay, doesn't look like that. Okay, then there's financial services, IT services. We ensure all risk from receipt to delivery. We do credit management and collections and transactional and management reporting in terms of financials. And then on the IT side, which plays a massive role in our business, is real-time access to the Booksite ERP system and also full disaster recovery process that happens there. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. Why this is doing this? Okay. So in terms, so the vision of Booksite, and I think it explains it all, is to grow and expand our services and to be the preferred warehouse distributor by connecting our business partners, which are our publishers and the customers. So what we effectively want to do is we want to leave the publisher to do what they're doing best and leave the customer what they're doing best. And we literally playing the role of connecting them with each other. I don't know why. Melvin, did you have a quick way of doing this?
No. Yeah, I struggled as well. I think if you share your desktop, the whole desktop, then yeah, maybe then you'll just focus on your particular presentation.
Okay, let me see if okay, anyway, I've got the next slide up. I think you can see that one. So our slogan is really, we get it right first time, every time, on time. And we realize that the role that we play in the value chain is exactly this. We need to make very sure that when we receive books, that we deal with that accurately and timelessly, and when we receive orders, that we can deliver that to our customers so that they can sell that on to the final, to the end consumer. So it's very important for us, and this is our focus, to do it, to get exactly this right. In terms of, let me see if I can get to the next slide. Okay. In terms of our publishers, okay. So in terms of our publishers, as I said, so the publishers that we do warehousing and distributing for is Penguin Random House, Pan Macmillan, Cambridge University Press, Jutta & Company, Bible Society of South Africa, Chicana Media, Blue Weaver, Quivertree, Christian Media Publishing. You can't see it, but I'm just going to skip that slide. Map Studio, Cover to Cover, Bookstorm, Louise, Chase Publishing, Sula Distributors, Naledi, and John Platter's Wine Guide. So I think, so this is on the one end of the spectrum. Let's move over to the other end, to Melbourne's side. So we're connecting them, and I said we have about 2,000 customers, of which the top 10 is exclusive books, bargain books, Take a Lot. Take a Lot is an interesting one. Take a Lot grew from about number 10 literally overnight to number 3 in our world. Then Topline, P&A, Kum Books, Loot Online, Wordsworth, Toys R Us, Esrol Books, and 2,000 others. Now, I think what's important is if we talk about cost, let me see if I can get to the next slide. So if we look at the nature of the industry from our perspective, we don't see a growing business. In fact, if anything, the top line is flat, and there is low margins. That is what we experience from our end. So it sounds a little bit negative, but the reality is that is what we see on our end. So the question then is how do you deal with that? Let me share this screen. So if we look at the first part of it is let's look at the cost of distributing books. I want to first talk about, there are two sort of cost models that distributors use. The one model is activity-based costing, where you would go and say, okay, if I receive a pallet, I'm going to charge you 50 Rand per pallet. I'm going to charge you so much to store a book. I'm going to charge you so much to pack it. I'm going to charge you so much to pick it. It becomes a very complicated model. I know people like in the Netherlands, the Bookseller, I know that they work on a model like that. It is doable, but it's a very complicated model. The other extreme, other model, which is more sort of widely used, I would say for distributors, is purely a percentage of invoice value. So you agree with the publisher, we're going to charge you a percentage of invoice value, and sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, but as long as it's set up in such a way that overall it makes sense, I think that would be the easiest way to deal with distributing, warehousing and distributing of books. If we just look at the cost drivers, rent is the biggest one, rent, rates and taxes, electricity, salaries and wages, carriage out, obviously to get the books delivered to the customers, packaging material, and then IT licenses. So taking that into account, the next question is then to say, but how do we survive, or how to survive given everything I've said up to now? So the question is, how do you survive? How does a distributor survive, given the fact that the margins are low, given the fact that the top line is not growing, and I've shown you the most important cost. I think there's sort of it's a three-tier approach. The first one is to realize that any business does need growth. So the focus should be on growth. But how do you grow if the top line is not growing? Well, you can do a few things. The first thing, and that's one of our strategies, is to say we need more publishers. We need to have more publishers on board so that could bring the growth. Because if the growth is not sitting in a publisher itself, then from our perspective, we need more publishers. That's the first thing. The second thing is we need to diversify into non-book products so that we can still have our growth, although it's not coming from a specific publisher. We need to bring in value-add services. And then, of course, the one could also, from a broader strategic business perspective, could look at backwards or forwards integration into the value chain. And I know there's a lot of discussions around this debate. So let's just think about it. So currently we are independent book warehousing and distribution business, but we could be owned by a publisher on the one end, we could be owned by a retailer on the other end, we could be owned by a printer on the other end, depending on how, from a strategic point of view, one looks at it. Going back to my example of the Bookseller in the Netherlands, so what they've done is they've consolidated all the book businesses into one. So that business is being owned by publishers and by retailers, and all books in the Netherlands goes through that business. So that's consolidated, optimized, and a very different model that they have typically, if you compare it to the fruit business, that would be typically almost a co-op of a kind. I'm not saying that's where we should go to, but that is a possible model. Then the second, so the one is growth. The second thing is disciplined cost management. I think that's anyway relevant in any business at all times, but specifically where you have low margins, it's more so. And then optimize efficiencies, where we have to keep on analyzing all the different activities in our business and to see how we can optimize efficiencies on that front. So I'm a keen supporter of the book Good to Great from Jim Collins, talking about non-fiction. Without going through all of this, what I like about this book and about this model is this is not theory. This is really properly researched by Jim Collins and 20 MBA students, or how many, and they have made it very simple. What the whole thing is basically saying is that for average, from a business that's performing good to move to the level to performing great. So it's not bad to good or average to good, it's good to great. The difference between good businesses versus great businesses are, and you can summarize it in, they're doing 6 things differently. They've got level 5 leadership. They first who, then what. So they get the right people, and then they find a slot where to put them in. They confront the brutal facts. In other words, they don't wipe things under the carpet. They deal with what's on the table. They do the hedgehog concept. In other words, they stick to their basic business in terms of what they're good with. They've got a culture of discipline. They make sure that on all different aspects, when it comes to discipline, whether it's financial, whether it's operational, doesn't matter. They keep on doing that, and they use what they call technology accelerators. They don't use technology for the sake of technology. They use technology where that will accelerate their business. And then they keep on doing that. That's the flywheel. They keep on doing it religiously over and over. And then one day, literally, they wake up, and then you have that breakthrough where you move the business from good to great. So I like that. I like to believe that we implementing some of that aspects into our business. And so we've developed, and I'm sure you can see the last slide. So we've developed something based on our vision and mission, is to say, okay, taking all of this into account, how can what are the things that we should do right so that we will still be in business going forward? And it's based on basically 4 legs: finance, customer, internal processes, organization development. And each of them, and I'm not going to go through all the detail, each of them has got different strategies. And I'm a firm believer to keep things simple, keep it focused, and make sure that when you do something or where you spend money, that it is really adding value. And that, I think that's that. So to summarize, we don't have a growing market. We've got low margins. We have a role to play. We have about 40% market share in this business. So we've got a pivotal role in connecting our publishers to our customers. And we need to make sure that everybody stays in business. Therefore, we have to do the basic things right. We need to keep on growing our business in the ways that I've explained. We need to keep a close tab on cost discipline, and to see how we can add value. We have to focus on the basic things, and I think that's the way that the distributor will stay in business going forward. And in the process, we need to make sure that we get it right first time, every time, on time, so that the publishers are happy, the customers are happy, and the end consumers are happy. Thank you. Any questions?